Hello everyone, this is Dimitrios Zoros and this is another episode of the Deathgineers Podcast. And today we're talking about the 11th edition of Warhammer 40k. As it has been for the past few editions, we are expecting that Games Workshop will bring out the next edition, the 11th, as we are currently in the 10th, around next summer 2026, early summer, late spring 2026. Being 3 years since 10th will have come out. And already many YouTubers and Redditors are talking about what we could see on the 11th, what we would like to see on the 11th, and what we expect. So, today we are going to talk about 11 points I have gathered for the 11th regarding mostly rules and the setting of the game. Not characters, armies, and models and stuff like that. This will be another video. I will have more fun with this, I believe, in a future episode. So, let's start with our 11 points for 11th. So, the first point has to do with terrain and line of sight. As a new player myself, it will be 1 year. I will be 1 year in the hobby this October only. I have struggled with understanding how terrain and line of sight works between the different rulings for footprints, ruins, wholly within, partly within, the difference between bases and hulls for vehicles, and how stuff are considered to be in line of other stuff. And it's not that it's not just me. I have seen more experienced players than me having some struggle, intuitively treating all those stuff. They have to think about them. The way that there are different rulings for WDC, for Game Works tournament, for what people understand in their casual games. I do believe that this has to be addressed in 11th and be more streamlined. The word streamline is, you're going to hear it a lot in this episode, I warn you. My take on this is that the footprints are a good thing. I do believe that line of sight has to be reduced to strictly bases, so that we don't have this whole thing whether you have modeled for advantage or disadvantage. Actually, all this, the only thing that does is make the game more complex, once. And also has a bad effect on kit basing and customizing, which is, for me at least, one of the greatest things about this game. So you can have some, more fancy weapons or equipment on your models, even if we're talking about WYSIWYG. Because your opponent might consider that you modeled for advantage or that you actually disadvantaged yourself. I do believe, for first of all, that we should go to base line of sight, or at least for those few things that don't have bases, like some vehicles, to have them represented by a rectangular representation of their main hull, not turrets, not other bits and parts. As for terrain, I do believe that Games Workshop should come out with some very strictly defined measurements in comparison to what is considered blockades or benefit of cover, and then let the players customize those within those measurements as they like. What do I mean? For example, let's say that we have a certain tree line kind of terrain. This has to be this by this inches, and it is considered to be like 3 or 4 or 5 inches in height. you might, within these measurements, do whatever you like with this tree line. You can make it more compact. You can make it more, with less coverage from trees. And this can also happen for rock formations and hills and stuff like that. This can be even for ruins and certain parts of, like pipes and stuff. So that everyone knows that, you know what, this is the footprint, this is the expected height. So I also have a certain height for my models. For example, my ballistus is so many inches considered, like you have your bases. Let's say that we have also the height. So you know that a ballistus can hide behind these trees. Now, in real life, in your game, your ballistas could have some antennae or some extra cannons, for rule of cool, and your tree line could be like some bushes that are not the exact height that the guidelines give them. I do believe that this way you don't have to, measure the most finite and minuscule detail in order to see what is seeing, what is not seeing. Some people might actually like this thing, but we are also experiencing people talking about the length of the game, and this is going to be the next 2 points. So let's go to the next point, which is lethality. By lethality, most people refer to how easy it is to kill units in the game, and how ruins are needed for shooting to be, a bit held down, held back, so that you don't have just two armies, round 1 and round 2, killing off everyone. There are actually different opinions on this thing. There are people who believe that there are many save steps, so the game is going on and on. There are people who believe that there's a lot of lethality, so you need a lot of units, and probably GW is doing this to sell more units. There are people who actually want less units. There are a few people like me who actually want more units, because we have a lot of nice toys that we can put on there. So lethality is something that many people want to balance. And to tell you the truth, I don't know what I would like in the 11th to change in regards to this. I do like the way that we are, as a Deathwoods player, and also I have mentioned that I also have a Death Guard army that I play less than my Deathwoods. I do like the lethality that I see among all the armies that we are playing with. Maybe if we take out some save steps, the lethality will go up, and the complexity will go down, and the length of the games will be lesser. But I would like to hear your opinions, because this is a point that I just brought it up so that we have a discussion on it. I don't have quite some opinions on this. And as I said, both the terrain, the line of sight, and the lethality, they work together with the next point, which is game length. Game length is already referenced in the previous 2 points, and there are a lot of people who want the game to go down to 1500 or 1000 points. Of course, the points as it is today, because if we go back to some detachment and hierarchy rules, and and regiments, and how many of this kind of unit, how many of that kind of unit you can, like we had on previous versions, I actually haven't played with these, so I don't know many details. The points whole argument is a bit moot, because if we go to 1000 points, and GW just slashes down in half the points of the units, then we're in the same point. So the length of the game, I do understand that as you progress as a player, it becomes less and less lengthy. As you learn your armies, as you are more accustomed to rolling the dice and knowing what to roll, I do understand that there are people who struggle even after having experienced a lot of battles with all these steps, with how to shoot, how to attack, wound, and then the saves and the various rules. So I do believe that the mark of around 3 to 4 hours for a casual game is good, because people have also other jobs, other work to do, jobs, families and stuff. I do understand this. So game length maybe should be something that Games Workshop should look into. And I do believe that the 3 points, those 3 first points, how terrain and line of sight works, how lethality works, and the game length are all interlocked, are interacting the one with the other. So what is the finest balance would be for us to play a game for 3 to 4 hours with as many units as we can to experience, to enjoy our toys. I do understand that there are people who say I struggle to amass 2,000 points. You are talking about amassing more, but this is a long run hobby. Okay, it might not, you will start with 500 point armies, 1,000 point armies, 2,000 point armies. I don't believe that anyone stays at 2,000, because you want other options and stuff. So as I said, the balance should be play around 3 to 4 hours with as much toys as we possibly can in order to be fun, and with rules regarding lethality and the measurements that allows us to do nice stuff with these units, not just rolling the same dice again and again, or not just having to units interlocked and not interacting a lot. I had a battle match recently. I have put, I think, the battle report against Dark Angels, and for 2 rounds there were only just 2 fights between my units and Lionel Johnson and a few Deathwing Knights. And because of how the saves were going back and forth, we were just, the rounds were just passing by with these fights. My other units, because most of the Dark Angels were vanquished from the table, my other units were on the other side of the table, and they couldn't do a lot of stuff because the others were in fight. So maybe make fallback rules a bit more lax, or have more options. Just an idea. So this is my take on these 3 points, that we should have games that don't last like half a day, and during which we're doing fun stuff, interacting with our units, and not just measuring the most minute details. If this antenna is here and that turret is there, and if I'm seeing you or whatever. This is actually works for charge and the fight also, because at some points it can be a bit a bit complex how they're interacting, and maybe this could be a point of its own. But enough with this, let's go to some other points. Particularly, I would like to talk about detachments. As a Deathwatch player, and having just one detachment and some flavorless regarding the Deathwatch detachments from the main Space Marine Codex, I do understand, seeing other detachments from other armies, I do understand that detachments are a great way to put some flavor in your armies. I have heard people advocating for more flavorful and more thematic detachments. Already many armies have such detachments. For example, I do think that Tau have some detachment that benefit more from Kroot and Vesp wings, I believe they're called. There are other detachments that are more focused on some other sub-faction of their army. And this word subfaction is also coming around a lot in online discussions. Many people advocate for creating some detachments regarding certain subfaction of larger armies, or maybe certain aspects of chapters regarding the Space Marines. For example, the Death Watch, I am currently working on some, makeup 11th edition codex for Death Watch, some ideas, I mean. And for example, I would like to see some detachments regarding being vehicle centric, giving, for example, mission tactics or the kill team warning to vehicles, one being about more infantry centric, so give it to Adeptus Astartes infantry, and even one with allies, giving it to Grey Knights or Sisters or Imperial Agents or even Imperial Knights that you take as allies. There are many ideas. Of course, there are people who want to go back to the old detachments and how they worked. And I mean the whole, military hierarchy where you get heavy units, elite units, infantry units, leaders, and you don't have exactly points, but you can have one of this, and one of that, or two of this, three of that. I do believe that there should be some, in its detachment, as we're having today, they could incorporate some ruling like that you can have many infantry or you can have many tanks. I don't want for it to go full on. I do understand that there are armies that are that you can have your opponent. Sorry, we're not enemies, but the enemy army come with like 200 models. It being more irritating than fun. Or you can have someone come with 10 vehicles with toughness of 10 and 11 and more, and be beyond the meta, be just, as I said earlier, irritating. But those kinds of armies are also flavorful. I mean, I had a match in my earlier days on the hobby a few months ago that I was blown out of the table by an army that came with like 10 vehicles, and we didn't have good rules on terrain, and that also led to a lot of lethality from these vehicles, and that was part of why I didn't quite enjoy this match. But it was thematic. I do understand. I actually was more intrigued to play an army like that than irritated. And not because it was winning, but because I liked how there were like 10 vehicles on the table. So detachments should be more thematic, but I don't want them to be very limiting on the armies that we can put out. And some hierarchy could help with maybe a bit of balancing the game, but I wouldn't like it to be on the expense of flavorfulness of flavor, and customizing your armies like you want them. Now, the next point we're going to explore is the Psyker phase. When I started back in October 2024 the hobby, of course there wasn't a Psyker phase, but I was trying to watch various videos so that I can see how the game is played, how the miniatures are painted. I didn't even had decided that I will play. I was like, okay, I will collect the minis, I will build them, maybe I will paint them, and in the far future I might play the game. And I stumbled across a video, I think it was from Play on Tabletop, I love those guys, that they were teaching to people how to play the game, and they had a Psyker phase because apparently the video was already more than a year old, and I didn't know that there is an edition now that doesn't have psychic phase. So when I was trying to learn the game, I was very confused because my first video tutoring how you play the game had this psychic phase. I do find it interesting as an idea, but I also think that if we have a psychic phase for every army and everyone having something to do with it, it might take a bit off the armies that have more psychic stuff prevalent, like Thousand Sons or Grey, who actually have a psychic phase as their army rule. Or from Grey Knights, or from Tyranids, because a friend of mine that was playing Tyranids said that in psychic phase Tyranids were blasting through armies. So I would like to see more psychic stuff. I would like to see the psychic keyword have more meaning than being essentially a debuff, because you can be targeted by the few anti-psyker stuff. I don't know if I would like to see a whole phase about it, as this would add to the length of the game and the complexity, as we said before. But I would like to see more psyker stuff coming in. Again, not on the expense of the flavor of some more psychic-centric armies. So this is a big yes to me. Bring more psychic stuff in the game. And as we are talking about earlier versions stuff, let's talk about War Gear. As a 10th edition adopter myself, I haven't experienced the older editions. I do like when a dataset gives me some options with war gears to put stuff on. I do find it curious that there are many weapons and equipment that you can just tick them and they become available. It's not like you can have one or the other. Of course, there are such cases that you can have one or the other, but in many cases, okay, you just tick it and it's there. I do understand that I have seen it, that there were various mechanics that had war gear, better weapons, cost some points. Basically, you could actually build your units regarding the weapons you wanted. Maybe you didn't want a good weapons, you wanted a cheaper unit. I do understand that this added a level of customization that was quite fun, but it probably, as a Space Marine player, because Deathwoods is effectively Space Marine, we do have a lot of units, one each for different weaponry, and maybe other armies could use this kind of customization more. But I do believe that, as I have played, that war gear should not come back, full speed. I do like. I would like to have some options. I wouldn't like to have, the barebone units that you build from scratch, and I do believe that this could actually lead to more length and more complexity, as you see a certain unit, a bit about what to expect. But if you have a lot of customization, you might be spending like half of the game explaining, no, this unit doesn't have this and that, it has this and that and that and those, and people might, can you actually put this on there? Are you sure? So a bit more streamlining, again this word, I do believe that has a good effect in the game. But also maybe adding a bit more of customization, like putting war gear with points in certain units, or just giving them the ability to get a couple of weapons more with such point costs per unit, like they have their own possible enhancements. This could actually work good towards flavor, and towards making the army more yours without adding a lot of complexity without need. And this can also drip down to the next point that we're going to talk about: leaders and characters. Now, regarding leaders and characters, I'm taking the previous point, war gear, and I'm applying it here. I do believe that leaders actually need a lot of more customization in general characters, and even epic characters. You should have a bit more availability in customization. I do understand that, at least as I have seen with the Space Marine characters, and not so much with the Death Guard ones. There are certain characters that do have a lot of different options, with mainly with weapons and shields and melee and ranged. But I would like to see more a deeper level of customization, so that you can make your characters more your own, so that you can have this fluff, this lore, this homebrew lore for your chapter or your warband or your dynasty Necrons or your hive in Tyranids, that actually incorporate some elements that you would prefer. Of course, there would be some limited options, but regarding how you choose those options, you could give some more flavor to your leaders of your armies. And why not bring some more warlord stuff? I do understand that warlords had more to do than, I don't know, we have only like a couple of abilities. Maybe some people get some buffs if they kill your warlord, or you could use some stratagems only if you have your warlord. Maybe give some more stuff to warlords. Actually, make it something that has some gravitas in the game. Yes, I do like. I would like to see some more attention given to leaders and characters. And some people say that also that characters should, leaders basically, should also always keep the buffs they give to a unit when they are touched. They should also keep it. I do hear about it. For example, I think a Lord of Codangian only gives to the unit, and of course him, I think it's no sustained, it's Lansen sustained, I don't remember now. So why can't he have it when he's not leading a unit? Stuff like that. Okay, these are more detailed, more minuscule details, I believe. My main point is that yes, I think we should give leaders and characters some more love, some more attention, in order to keep them more interesting. Next, let's talk about another mechanic of the game, the battle sock. Honestly, I'm on the fence with this, because I am I'm roller coasting between being an interesting mechanic to quite useless. What I mean is that many people are regarding this as something that hasn't been fleshed out properly. Others believe that it is straight useless. I do believe that it has some potential. There are armies that are more inclined to using mechanics like stratagems and abilities and stuff like that, that incorporates battle sock. And there are armies then that battle sock can be a great deterrent to them. For example, I just learned the other day that Astra Militarum, if they get battle socked, they lose their orders from their army rule, which is it's logical, but you see that this army has battle sock as a great deterrent. On the other hand, I believe Tyranids have like a ton of things that can give battle sock. Maybe this is quite relevant to their psychic nature as an army, because I know they do have a lot of things to do actually with the warp, now that I'm thinking about it. So maybe battle sock should be more balanced across the armies, maybe with some more universal rules. and I do believe that it should stay, but it should be fleshed out a bit more and become more. It's an interesting idea. I do believe that it has a base on the fact that, you have armies, you have these giant bags coming at you, you have endless waves of mummy-like robots. You have maybe on the other side, you have these 8 feet tall, muted, genetically enhanced super soldiers clad in power armor coming your way. All this stuff could affect your psyche and have you have some battle shock, some fatigue, and so on. But maybe give some more flavor to it, and give some more gravitas, and balance it across all the armies. Yes, I would like it to stay, but only if it's a bit more thought out. The next one is a big one for us in Deathwatch, as let's face it, we only have 4 units unique: the Veterans, the Watchmaster Artemis, and the Corvus Blackstar. And one of those 4 units is nigh unplayable. Probably one of the greatest, of the most beautiful models in the GW product list, and yet we don't have a lot of things to do with it. And I've seen people saying a lot about how aircrafts are not very playable in general in 10th. And I do believe that aircraft should be taken into consideration across the lines of what the game is. Let's face it, it's a skirmish game. I know we are referring to Kill Team mostly as a skirmish game, but even the main 40k game, it's a battle again between like 50, 100, or maybe 200 if you have a horde armies, 100 people strong armies, which is not just like that, great battles. There are more, local battles considered. So an aircraft like a bomber or a jet fighter or something like that, yes, it's not very relevant to such scales. Maybe in Imperialis they're more relevant, but here we should have more, assault vehicles like VTOLs and helicopter-like aircraft. So I do believe that the aircrafts in 11 should all just be hover and have just a bit more abilities than the regular fly units. Maybe have some more height that they can pass through. And they should also lose this straight line rule, because again, as I said, the immersion is breaking. And they should have some greater rules. I mean, at least the Corvus that I have played a couple of times. The points are way too much. The weapons are way too weak. And the abilities are meh. For example, Corvus should have the ability to get at least 1 kill team on it. Even if it's an Indomitor, which would have with a leader and maybe biologist, it would mean that it would need like 24 seats. But okay, it's just a kill team with its leaders. Let it have them. And along these lines, also the fortifications are a wasted potential, because I do believe that fortifications could have some interesting mechanics. For example, what I have come up with as an idea is for each army to have some available square footage on the board, square inches probably, available to put on as fortifications, with this not affecting their actual points. So an army like the Astra Militarum could have more available square footage, because they are a more traditional army. And the fortifications should have some very special certain abilities. For example, they could be minefields, they could be gun placements, they could be medic stations, they could be like radar or some other technical kind of equipment that gives some buffs or some debuffs in the opponent. I mean, at some point I had actually thought about GW turning maybe fortification into some more flavorful objectives. I mean, imagine if it's instead of just having a round mat, if you had an actual equipment, an actual small building that when you took it as an objective, you also activated some ability. And I had thought about some kind of a silo that you could put as a mid objective, that if you actually earned it, as you actually hold it as an objective, you could initiate a launch on another objective, so that if your opponent wanted to keep that objective, they would probably sacrifice some units with some mortal wounds. There are things that you can do. So yes, I want aircrafts and fortifications to be rethought on the 11th, although I am not very optimistic about how GW will treat them on the next edition. Now, coming near the end, I want to stress out the point that has been repeatedly come up on the previous points, and this is about flavor. I do understand that many people consider that this edition has lost a lot of its flavor, especially regarding the terrain and the placement on the battlefield, because as the years pass, GW has put their weight on the tournament side or the competitive side of the game. And as a new player, maybe it's the excitement of the new player, I haven't encountered such problems. We've talked about terrain, we've talked about lethality, we've talked about detachments, all stuff. But, maybe most people experience hobby fatigue when they consider that the 10th has not flavor, or maybe it's something that I haven't experienced because I like what I play now, but if I played some previous editions with more flavor, then I would have some other opinion. All in all, I do advocate for putting more flavor in the game. I'm not denying this. But I wouldn't like this to be in the expense of the complexity and the length of each game. I want to have fun games. I want to have some narration in it incorporated. I wanted to have flavor, the detachments, the units, the stratagems, all of it. But in a nice balanced way that will not turn my 3 or 4 hour mats into some complex RPG session that needs 2 or 3 times for us to get together to finish it. I do believe that Horus Heresy is more oriented towards this strictly narrative setting, but I do believe that Warhammer 40k, the main game, can balance between the more strict competitive part of the game and our casual, more narrative games. This is also something that I would like everyone to contribute their opinions and their ideas. Finally, let's talk about a general point of general rules and the streamlining that I have brought up so many times. This is something that we have already mentioned in previous points, but I wanted it to have a point of its own, as there have been stuff that I have found that are more complex than they need to be. I do understand the lawyering up of the rules so that they can be more future-proof and that they can incorporate differences in various abilities and future added stuff and elements like stratagems, like detachments, etc. But I do believe that some stuff could maybe be a bit toned down. For example, the whole fighting sequence, how you charge, where you charge, who you charge, how you place your units, the piling, the consolidate, how you can fight this and then that, the fights first, the fights last, that was on previous editions. Thankfully it's not in here. I do believe that although in time you can be more accustomed to how this works, I do believe that there are even experienced players that have some trouble with the whole thing. And when I say experienced players, I don't mean people that go to every other tournament, okay? I mean that people that play mostly casual games, maybe a tournament now and then, but they have played a lot of games, so they should have enough experience to at least play easily their casual games. So I do believe that some of these rules should be a bit streamlined, not not decomplexed, not make them simplify them to a point where there is no flavor. But I do believe that there should be some minuscule improvements on how the wording works and how people can perceive these rules, especially where there are rules that that they are not going to be used by other armies. It's not something so general, for example, like a specific army rule. I do believe that they could add a few more designer notes or examples as they have in some datasets and some rules. And also I do believe that stuff like terrain and placements and movements, all these various elements should come with exact examples that showcase how these rules are played out. So these were my 11 points for 11th. I hope that you found some interesting ideas. I would like to hear your own ideas and opinions on these. As we close this video, I would like to address something that I was commented on a previous video. This is my first try at a YouTube channel, although it's been like almost 10 years that I'm trying to find something that interests me to do this. I'm just a guy. It's a one-man show. I don't have equipment. I don't have a place to, create a small studio. So I'm sorry if you find this a bit lacking on the department of, more imagery and details about some stuff. I'm trying to be better. I hope that you stay here for the future of the channel. I do hope that I will not disappoint you. And in regards to this particular subject, the 11th edition, I will have the next few months, I will actually put a video where I will talk about models and units and even armies that I want to see, that I believe we will see, and in general more interesting stuff apart from the lawyering and the rules regarding the upcoming 11th edition. So I would like to thank you for listening and have some nice dice.